What's up, Chicanos? How's it going? I want to talk about how Mexicans were slaves, indigenous people of this continent, Native Americans, how our slavery, the social conditioning that was put upon us. Because when I talk about the Hispanic slave last names, some people don't understand. Even before, I never understood that we were slaves, and I didn't understand colonialism and that it is slavery. So, how social conditioning social conditioning is when you train someone, an individual, to conduct themselves in a manner that is approved by other higher peers or people or a civilization. And so, one, they said you are now properly civilized. That is social conditioning. And now, how did they do this? First, let's start with the Spaniards. The Spaniards set up missionaries. The Spaniards from 1769 to 1833, that's when they started spreading Christianity amongst indigenous people up through California when they started gaining New Spain. And everyone knows Junipero Sierra. Should He's a so-called hero or founding father, and because you at these schools had to learn and accept the European Spaniard way of life, being Catholic and whatever values they seem fit as their nation, that is now what you accept. So that's social conditioning. Two, in the 1870s, Lieutenant Richard Pratt set up boarding schools for indigenous people on the East Coast to Americanize them. And even on both sides, the Spaniards and the British, European, Irish, whatever they are, they took children. You got to remember, they took children and they would raise these children, and children would forget who their parents are when they would be released at 18, 15, depending on how young they were took, and being Americanized and seen fit to being what the Europeanized. Lose They said that our language, our culture, our way of life was wrong, trash, garbage, it didn't mean nothing. This is what is correct, and this is what you must learn to survive on what is now ours that we took from you. So, one, for the first, I didn't look, dang, for the first good like 50 to 60 years, we were the ones that were being used as slaves. We had to farm, build, and all that on the Caribbeans, along Mexico when Cortez took over, in Florida, a lot by the Spaniards. So when once disease started spreading within after a handful of years, it was getting harder for them to maintain indigenous people because they had to go capture indigenous people on amongst the east, wherever they were at, and bring them to the Caribbeans and transfer slaves. It was too much money because once they were resisting a lot because this is our homeland, our turf. We're not just gonna submit to what you want us. And two, because the disease made our people so weak, it was hard for the Europeans to take care of us, to keep us alive. So it was costing. So once they brought the Africans over here, now here's the difference between ours and theirs of social conditioning. It's economic, because we face the same torture. If you understand African history of the Americas and indigenous, the American slave trade, the starting of the Americas, they tortured them, they tortured our people just as bad, these Europeans. The only difference is economic wise. They were brought here specifically as a tool to be used to build, to farm, and to help mine with these indigenous people. That's what they were brought here for, the Willie Lynch system. If any of you guys never heard of that, go look it up after this video, read the Willie Lynch system. So, that's the difference between our slavery and their slavery. Because, see, the Spaniards, they would give indigenous people a chance. If you accepted Jesus, if you accepted this way of life, then you were able to live. But the British, on a little hand, they were more brutal. They were just because when they started coming here, land was open already because indigenous people were already being wiped out from disease slowly at a time. So they had free land once they hit that east coast, and they were just about extermination a lot too. When you read the difference between Spaniard and the British Anglo-Europeans, so that's why our slavery and their slavery is different. We faced a lot of the hardships and cruelment, but it was economic wise because once before the 1870s, when the Lieutenant Richard Pratt started setting up boarding schools for the United States, they were just cleaning, like killing, robbing, everything, robbing and killing, and just taking land, and at a time too. So laws started getting put down, like, hey, all right, we can't be doing this. We need to give them a chance. Let's start reservations, and let's start boarding schools where they would take kids from families and raise them to be Americanized. And this was in the 1870s. This is after the Spaniards, because they stopped in the 1830s from what I got, their missionaries set up and all that. So they started the boarding schools in 1870s. And when I read in this book, you read about you can look it up, the 5 civilized tribes, which 2 of them are the Cherokee and Choctaw. Even as much as they accepted colonialism in the southeast, the Plains tribe, they accepted colonialism to the fullest as much as they could. They still lost everything. They still lost the land. They had to face the Trail of Tears. It didn't matter how much they accepted colonialism, because even to this day, they're trying to fight a pipeline not being put on their land. So that social conditioning is slavery. I'm not proud of a Hispanic, so-called Latino last name. That is why I do not honor it. That's why I do not honor Spaniard, European culture. I don't honor being an American. That's because of social conditioning. Socialization. Let me break socialization down as when you socialize with someone, you interact and cooperate, and you're willing to work with people. You're willing to accept a person's heritage, accept someone's culture, religion, way of life, point of view, and maybe you guys learn to adapt each other and share views, ways of life, and culture and food and all that. So that almost seemed like it was happening, but once the Europeans learned how to take advantage, they did. They took over, and that's what people don't understand. That's what you need to learn to think about. We face our slavery, our hardship, our Holocaust is not understood. That's the point. Our Holocaust is not understood. The indigenous people of the North and South continent. Our Holocaust is not taken seriously. And our people don't understand our Holocaust. We don't get taught it. We don't understand it. We don't care to learn it. We don't. So I mean, get this book, American Holocaust. This is about indigenous people Holocaust. People, when I show them this book, they're blinded by this, and I gotta tell them this is about our people, to like my family and friends. They're like, oh, okay. They're like, did we face worse than the gas chambers? A homie just said the other day when he seen this, but it's like, see, we don't understand our Holocaust. I tell people, like, you gotta learn to read about yes, they've had some hardship. The Jews faced their couple of years, but we face hundreds of years, and we're still under captivity of social conditioning. So read American Holocaust. It's a great book. And I just want to, let me see if I can find this. I got to read something real quick before I wrap it up. See this? That's a little indigenous baby girl. General Leonard W. Colby, showing off his Lakota socks, wore Curio, C-U-R-I-O, named Zincataulauni, or Lost Bird. After privately putting her on display for personal profit, Colby eventually released her to Buffalo Bill's Wild West show. She died in Los Angeles at the age of 29. In 1991, the Lakota people had Zincataulauni's remains moved back to Wounded Knee for interment with the rest of her family. So I just want to let you guys think about that. What happened to her? That is unfortunately real just sick. That's sick. That's slavery right there. And a lot of you people that even do understand our history don't understand it because you're not doing the critical thinking. You read about our history, but you're not doing the critical thinking. You're not following the people that know what they're talking about because you got a grudge, or you hate them maybe because you don't know it, because you don't want to put in the work to study as much, or because somehow you feel like you love that Spanish identity still. You don't understand how to shove it off you. And like I said in other videos, I know that I'm Americanized. I'm not that. So I understand my colonialism. I'm Americanized. I'm not Latino or Hispanic. If some of you guys that already know me, I talked about that. That is how I am. I'm Americanized, and that's why it was easy for me to break off Latino and Hispanic, because one, I never seen myself as that. I was told I was Chicano, but Latino, Hispanic labels were easy to get dropped. And so, you know, understand our Holocaust. So think about that. Peace out. Learn your history and learn social conditioning. Learn how to talk to people about what happened to us. Learn how to explain our Holocaust. That's what I'm trying to say. So peace out. Have a good one, Chicanos. And leave your thoughts and comments. I want to know what you're thinking. Like this video, show some love, share it. Look up Chicano Community Facebook page and give it a like. Peace out.